Just a few thoughts on some of the stuff I've seen happening recently. It's a funny world. It's a very funny world. There's a lot of, in politics, I think many times that people lose the forest for the trees. And I don't know, some of the things you see with these Democrats, you can barely believe it. Like, it seems their aim at the moment, their main goal, we're like, a month and few days off the midterm elections, but their main goal is to smear Kavanaugh this, Trump that, blah, blah, blah. And it's sort of almost like, well, we've won these little points, but winning a battle or winning all these minuscule battles that are really meaningless because they're so small, and then getting busted for, basically lying. Oh, we won that battle. A week later, yeah, well, that was actually a lie, None of that type of stuff is going to win the war, and it's sort of like as though, well, what we're going to focus on is just having these smear campaign battles. And, some of these smear campaigns are shown to be lies later, but we're going to battle on this smear campaign. Yes, we've got some people to believe this smear campaign. Yes, we've got some people to believe that one. I've seen a thing this morning. It was a run of, this looks like it's going to spell the end for the Trump presidency. The walls are closing in. And it went through from every month, from when he was first elected, boom, 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 or basically from January 2017, and it went through, this is the end for the Trump presidency, February, March, every single one, right through to the current day. Well, another bombshell. Well, the walls are closing in on Trump. Well, this looks like the end of his presidency. Every single month from January 2017. And, you're still there, and they're just sort of grabbing at these little minor smear campaigns that seem like they're winning points, but they want themselves a packet of gum, And let's jump on the next, and they've sort of lost sight of why are we going to vote for you in the midterms. It's not the packets of gum that you get every time you win a minor smear campaign that's going to get you re-elected. It's your policy, it's your reasons why you're going to help stuff, and you're going to focus on getting those votes. And yet here we are, only a few weeks out, and they're still sort of just rolling on these little smear campaigns, What is this going to do? It's like sitting there saying, well, I built 10 sandcastles, so that means I'm halfway to building myself a house. No, you're not. They're just sandcastles. The wave's going to come up and go, wash all your sandcastles away. Yeah, but we got something started. Yeah, but it's meaningless. It's pointless. It's not going to do anything for you, Sandcastles isn't putting in the stumps on a house. It isn't buying the timber. It isn't buying roofing materials. Hell, you haven't even bought a packet of screws. It's just nothing. It's unbelievable the way they sort of run. Most interesting of all, I was watching Bill Murray. Ghostbusters, Groundhog Day. And he was sort of saying how they focus themselves on, where for Hispanics, where for illegal immigrants, where for black people. And he said, now why the hell would you want to just advertise yourself as only for fighting for a few small groups? And basically saying that you are going to exclude the majority because you're fighting for a handful of small groups, but you're not interested in the majority. Because it's almost like a company going out there and sort of saying, like what he basically said was they've alienated themselves from the majority by instantly stating that they're only for this minority group, that minority group, another minority group. Why in the hell would you actually box yourself in as only being for this one, this one, this one, and essentially lose the majority market because you've stated that you're only going for the minorities? And of course, as minorities, they're in the minority, so you're going to get less than half of the vote, aren't you? Unbelievable. You know, the way I look at it is as though, imagine that you're Coca-Cola and you decide that we have made a drink called Coca-Cola. You know, our drink is only going to be for Hispanics, black people, and illegal immigrants. And this is who drinks this drink, and it's a great drink. But if you're white, who cares? They're not going to market to white people. Fuck that. What's the point? You know. We're still going to get brilliant sales, though. We're going to get better sales than everyone else. But why the fuck do we want to market to the majority? Fuck that. No point marketing to the majority. Is there, Black Kitty? You know, it just doesn't even seem to make any sense in terms of just running a brand of product, let alone an actual whole political party. You know, it's phenomenal, really. You know, over here in Australia, we get things like Newsflash. The Americans are arguing about what gender can use what toilet. This is proof that America is crazy, and you know, this is another, you know, only in America type moment. You know, this is the stuff that turns up over here as, you know, news. Oh my gosh, the Americans are doing this. Aren't they crazy? They're so worried about transgender, this and that's, while they got trillions in debt and all this sort of stuff. But who can use whose toilet? And it's sort of like, holy shit, are they, you know, what are they doing? They're focusing on such minor stuff when they've got large problems elsewhere. Trade deficits, debts through the roof, you know, migration issues, and from the Australian perspective, your healthcare system's a fucking joke, you know, and sort of, you know, it's just amazing that this sort of shit all rolls on as it does, that such a large organisation can be just so fucking dumb, you know. But anyway, just some of the things I see, and you sort of have, you know, come into your thoughts, and you just sit there going, holy smoke, like, what's going on over there? You know, what are these people thinking, you know? It's like there's idiots there whinging about, oh, Ford's got an ad campaign having a go at Tesla. You know, oh, well, you know, they're one recession away from bankruptcy. Fuck off. They are one of the companies, oh, you know, they got a drop in 2% sales year on year. Of course they have. You know, you've been bringing in all this foreign gear. These things happen, you know. You might not have followed the young, lefty, trendy thingo. You know, you got the Chev Volt. Maybe Ford wants to do a fucking hybrid, you know, or maybe they look at the damn numbers and realise that hybrids end up being more. You know, the Prius, they never made any money on it. They actually made a loss on every Prius. And what I can't get over is the thing only goes 2/3 of a mile on batteries. I never knew that until I read it in the newspaper. It's like, holy fuck, who would bother about an electric car that goes such a short distance? At least your Chev Volt actually goes somewhere. You know, and maybe they want to think about that, but there's been other pushes in this country where, you know, oh, we want some low fuel consumption thing, and they fuck around with this engine. And they did. They fucked around trying to make a family car that has traditionally had a 4-litre 6-cylinder have a 2-litre 4-cylinder, but they had to have a turbo or twin turbo on the damn thing. Then you couldn't tow with it. Then you actually looked at the fuel consumption savings, and they were fucking pathetic. It was almost no difference. They praised this thing up to the fucking moon. And the total amount of units sold? I think it was 1,280. No shit. All the development money, they never recouped it back. You know, and that may be why that Ford's not bothering with hybrids or electric vehicles or stuff like that. You know, maybe that's the path they want to take. Maybe they've looked at the economics of it already and said, what's the fucking point? But to sit there going, oh, they'll be finished in the next recession, comparing them to Tesla. Oh, what's Tesla? What's Tesla been doing the last 3 years or so? Yeah, as much as I, as an off-gridder, love an alternative, I love the idea of electric vehicles that I can charge up of a wind turbine. That's a great idea. Wind turbine, even, you know, spend a fair bit on a big solar panel bank. In fact, I've seen a certain place that sells repossession stuff, and they've cleaned up some companies that had a lot of solar panels that never got sold or never got used, and those solar panels are 15% the price. And you look at stuff like that and you go, holy smoke, you know, this might be, you know, there's potential there, there's feasibility there. Add to it a wind turbine and you could charge an electric car. And I really like just having an alternative in general, because if you got one thing for everybody and that fucks up, there's no backup plan, is there? So I like the idea of having alternatives available. Not one subsidised, not one's paid for. I couldn't give a fucking shit about green stuff. But I do like the idea of having a second option no matter what. Like when I see people 100% electric heating and I'm like, oh shit, you should at least get a small wood stove. At least if the power goes out, you'll still be warm. You know, it's not really a problem here in Australia because it's not that cold, but you know what I'm saying? It's good to have two different options or three different options even. But, you know, you look at what Tesla's been doing. Fucking hell, they've taken pre-order money, and this has been going on for like 2 or 3 years. They've taken pre-order money for the next model to finish paying off, to cover the production costs for the one that they're currently building that they were supposed to deliver 6 months or a year ago. And, you know, they come out with one, which I've seen here in Australia, but when they originally come out with that, oh, we now got this with, you know, we're pre-ordering this. And this guy said, it's not anything except, he called it vaporware. Literally, this vehicle has not been built fully, has not been prototyped, has not been tested, hasn't been anything. All they had was a goddamn empty body, a shell, that they slid up on the stage, no motor in it, just not interior and an outer shell, and then try to sell that vehicle based on that and take pre-orders for it. They didn't have any engineering worked out, they didn't have any of the shit in it, they had theories that, well, our battery should be able to do this, we should be able to do that, boom, 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 and they sold it on all these bases without having one single drivable prototype. And why were they selling pre-orders for that? To cover the vehicles that were supposed to be delivered 6 months ago, but we still hadn't finished making for the customers who are pre-ordered and then been asked for more. Fucking hell. Strung out 6 months, longer. You know, and he's talking about Ford going bankrupt. Fuck off. You got half of Tesla, fucking all the big guns, well not half of Tesla, but all the big guns, the important people in Tesla walking out. And, you know, Elon Musk talking that he's going to walk out if he hasn't already, because I think he might have. You hear all this stuff, but you know, there's some of these news sources that are, you know, trying to jump the gun before it happens. But you sort of sit there going, like, you know, Ford is one recession away from bankruptcy. Yeah, Tesla's probably 1 month away from bankruptcy. Fucking hell, you know, it just boggles the mind how you can have people sort of living in such a bubble, you know. And even you look at Trump, I mean, he's a pretty abrupt sort of character. I'm not denying that. You know, I'd probably be him or worse if I was running the country. You know, I'd probably be doing some real stupid shit, worse than he does. But he's got to the point now with the media where he loves fucking... Oh, I take a question from CNN. The worst. The shit he does is sort of funny. But you look at it all and the country's rolling, you know. Oh, but the debt's bigger than the... Well, you know, you want to go back to Obama style. Stacks of debt so we can, you know, pay out Solyndra $500 million so they can go bankrupt. You know, what the fuck? You know, of course the debt's got to grow slightly just to cover restarting the place, you know? And now he's sort of, you know, Rand Paul and that must have been sort of biting at his heels a little bit. He's asking them to cut 5% on their department spending. Fine cuts. Go out there, look for them. You know, because we're going to cut it all back 5%. Then he's saying that some of these entitlement programs, you know, if they're not being used, the money should be going back into paying debt. And there's also thoughts along all this money that sort of is set for a purpose, never actually gets spent on that purpose, then sits in a bank account doing nothing, and you're paying interest, not much, but you are paying interest on debt while you've got all this money, including money from the 90s that was supposed to be used for a border fence under Clinton, that never got used fully, and some of it, it's not even touched, you know, some of it 0% got used for different programs that they allocated funding for, but they never actually started the program. And you got all this money sitting in all these different bank accounts all over the place. There is no mechanism to bring any of that money back into the current coffers, the current budget, or paying off the debt, or covering some other cost overrun which went, you know, which blew out. Look at all this money, all frozen, all over the place, for the last fucking 30 years or something. And they haven't been able to touch it or recoup it, but it's borrowed money, so you're paying interest on it. If they could find a mechanism to do that, that would be a brilliant move in and of itself there. That alone would go and, you know, throw a bit back in the face of debt. I'm not saying you cover your debts, but I'm saying you might knock off a 2 or 3%, you know, right there, you know, and that could be worth looking into. But anyway, it's one of these things, you know, you got to get the ball rolling before things really get happening. You know, you've got employment lows of you know, 48 years, and you know, I think the ball is definitely starting to roll, and you know, maybe it's going to be time now, you know, third year, that we should start looking at maybe paying out a bit of this debt, you know, or that's going to be something that's going to, you know, come to the forefront, because the employment's getting rolling so well. Once a few of these trade deals get rolling, you know, it's all there. It's all got the potential that you're going to start, you know, you're going to have enough cash to start paying off debt, and that's, you know, to be honest, that hasn't happened since the Clinton era. He was the only one to pay off a little bit. Gerald Ford broke even. And prior to that, you've been running up debt since 1971. And I can't believe that someone like Bill Clinton actually did pay back a bit of the debt. That was quite surprising. But yeah, that's sort of something that, you know, look at where you're going, look at where you are now, and yet they're still whinging about the guy, you know. And this is the fact. Like, if you got a guy who talks eloquently and says all the right things to all the right minority groups, but you're still broke as fuck, what's the point? When you can have money in your pockets, have work, have jobs. Holy fucking cow, I can't believe it. There's an e-beggar I know who's got a fucking job. And the guy's, You know, the president's a little bit abrupt. I know what I'd rather have, an abrupt president and money in me pockets versus being broke as shit. Not being able to cover half the things I should be able to cover because I've got a president who says all the nice things and all the politically correct bullshit. It doesn't matter. If you're fucking broke, you know, you're fucked, you know? And I think you'd be much better having a, you know, guy who's a little bit abrupt but gets jobs versus one who isn't. But anyway, it's just a couple of my little thoughts on it all.